G'day YouTube and welcome to my channel. So this is going to be my fitness transformation channel. I'll be checking in weekly, covering all the stuff that I'm doing to try and lose weight and get fit. I'll be covering my diet and supplements, the exercises that I've been doing, the program I'm on, my progress on a regular basis, and any experiments I do along the way. Primarily, this channel is for two reasons. I've been motivated looking at a lot of videos on YouTube that are similar in terms of fitness transformation videos. So if this channel contributes to that body of work and motivates someone to get out there and lose weight, then that's awesome. I'm just kind of trying to pay it forward a little bit. And the other thing is that to keep the other reason I wanted to start it was to keep me honest. I've been talking about losing weight for a long time. My friends kind of roll my eyes when I mentioned that I'm on some sort of fitness run at the moment. One of my best friends not too long ago, when I was talking about weight loss and that I'd lost a couple of kilos, he said, well, that's great, but let me know when you've been doing it for 6 months, because at the moment it's just a fad. And once it's a lifestyle in 12 months, then maybe we can talk about it. Now, a bit harsh, but at the same time, totally understand where he's coming from, and I've been talking about it for such a long time. He's been hearing about it for such a long time. So, I'm the sort of guy that tends to lose a bit of weight on a bit of a fitness kick and then put it all straight back on. I'm sure you've all heard it all before, or potentially experienced it. So, documenting my progress on a weekly basis will hopefully keep me honest. Hopefully, it'll keep me interested and motivated, in the sense that if I've got to generate interesting content that I know I'm putting on the internet on a weekly basis, then I need to be doing something interesting or have something interesting to talk about. So I'm hoping that it'll actually feed itself a little bit. In terms of where the current journey that I'm on, so my base weight tends to be around 111 kilos, which is about 245 pounds. That seems to be where I fall every time I, lose weight and put it back on again. I end up at around the 110, 111 mark. But I noticed towards the end of last year, so it's 4th of February 2018 today, for a little bit longer anyway. I've recently been looking at photos that I've on my phone and on Facebook, and it's funny. It's kind of like when you hear your own voice recorded, it just doesn't sound right. Well, looking at photos for me recently has been kind of like that. They just don't look like me. They don't match the image I have of myself in my head. I know I'm overweight. You know, that's well and truly ingrained in my head. But even looking at photos recently, I look at it and say that I look so much bigger than I feel that I should look, or that I do look. So, that's been quite confronting. To be honest, this channel's really confronting as well. We'll be putting some pictures up of my progress, and I tend to avoid any environment where I have to take my shirt off, and I'll be putting some photos up of me without a shirt on, because I can't be honest about my progress, and I can't be honest about where I'm at right now unless I'm prepared to kind of expose that to whoever, to myself, to the world, to my friends and family. So anyway, around December, I decided that I was going to start just doing some basic stuff. I was going to go for a walk on a regular basis. There was no real goal to it. It was just, just start getting a little bit fitter. To be honest, I got bored of it really quickly. But the other thing I started doing while I was walking was, I was tracking my mileage on my watch, just a fitness tracker. So I started to track my calorie intake as well. And without making any conscious decisions about changing my diet, I've noticed that just knowing the calorie content of various food, I'm naturally kind of gravitating towards healthier foods. Or at least, if I eat something that has a high calorie content, then I'll back it off a lot for the other meals of the day. So I started losing some weight doing that. I wasn't really, there was no plan to it, there was no structure to it. But while I was on YouTube, ironically looking at fitness transformation videos, I stumbled across an advertisement from Thomas DeLauer, advertising science-based six pack, his program based on intermittent fasting. And it looked really interesting and kind of talked to my nerdy side in terms of going through the science of fitness and weight loss and fat burning. So I went and bought the program, and I've been following that now for tonight is the end of the second week. So the basic program's a 3-month program, and then you kind of figure out where you want to go from there. So I've been doing it for 2 weeks. It's kind of split up into 3 different phases. So I'm halfway through phase 1, then you've got a month of phase 2 and a month of phase 3. So we'll see how we go at the moment. So like I said, I started on around mid-December at 111 kilos or 245 pounds. I started the program at, I think, 106 kilos. So I've lost, 107 kilos. So I've lost 2 kilos in 2 weeks. So, it's which is about, so I'm currently at 105, or 231 pounds. It's a start. If I can continue to lose a kilo a week, I'd be happy with that progress. One thing I am scared of is if this program does work and I do get to where I want to get to, I don't, the loose skin kind of concerns me a little bit. Obviously, it'll be the least of my worries, but I've heard that if you lose it too quickly, you're a lot more likely to suffer from loose skin. So that, and I don't want to crash. I don't want to go into any kind of metabolic issues as a result of losing weight too fast. So, I think a kilo a week's probably a healthy progression. Anyway, so my goal weight, I don't know, 85 kilos. It's about 187 pounds. Figure it out from there. I'm not really goaling myself on a specific weight. It's more about feeling comfortable in my own skin. Which kind of takes me to kind of the backstory, my motivations for doing this, how I got here. I've noticed over the years, I'm a heavy smoker as well, and I've always been a big boy. I'm obese. And I've struggled to come to terms with those two things. I've always talked about getting skinnier, and I've always talked about quitting smoking. And there's been a lot of talk for a lot of years. I started to put on, I was a really skinny teenager, like really skinny. I was about 60 kilos until I was 17, 18. I haven't really grown since then in height. And yet I've just kind of widened. So to go from 60 kilos to 110 kilos over the years, it's pretty scary. In terms of my health, smoking makes it worse. Both my parents are diabetics, so I'm in a high risk category to start with, and then throw obesity into it and smoking. It's a recipe for a very short lifespan, which I'd prefer to avoid. But beyond that, the day-to-day stuff's really been getting to me a lot too. So, my wife's quite an active woman. She likes beach and those types of activities. She likes bushwalks and trail walks and all the rest of it. And I avoid them all like the plague. Anything that involves me taking my shirt off, I will, find an excuse to get out of. And it affects the relationship as a result, because I'm avoiding doing things with my wife that would be quality time. I'll avoid any event that involves me taking my shirt off because I'm embarrassed about how I look. I'll avoid going on the whole idea of a bushwalk scares me because I know how unfit I am. But apart from that, it's also day-to-day stuff. I'm not comfortable in my own skin. I work in a professional office environment, and I tend to find that I cross my arms to hide my stomach. And the problem with that is obviously, anyone who understands body language knows that this is a very defensive posture. And it can be, I think it can be misread if someone, suspects that I'm feeling defensive. I guess to an extent I am defensive, but I'm not defensive in terms of the content of the conversation. I'm hiding my pot belly. There's days where I'm sitting in the office in a business shirt and I feel uncomfortable in my own skin. I'm straining against my shirt and I'm disgusted at myself. So, there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of motivation behind me wanting to get fit, and taking responsibility for making a change, because, fundamentally, if you want a different outcome, you need to do something differently. So this is my doing something differently. The last time I lost weight was around the time of my wedding. So as a bachelor, before I met my wife and got married, I was living a bachelor's life. And a nerdy one at that. So I'd spend all my time in front of the computer playing video games. I'd drink lots of energy drinks, and pizzas would be dinner. Excuse me. When I was living alone in my bachelor pad, I would have to drive past, I think it was a McDonald's, Hungry Jack's or a Burger King for those in the States, and I think it was a KFC or some sort of fried chicken place. And I had to drive past it every morning to go to work, and I'd have to drive past it every night on the way home. So, you know, it's pretty obvious what happened. I would eat takeout for breakfast in the morning, and I'd eat takeout on the way home for dinner, and I'd get some large meal, rice or pasta meal, at lunchtime from work, and there's 3 humongous meals with a heck of a lot of calories in it. So it's little wonder that I put on a lot of weight. Um, one of the core hormones that burns fat for men is testosterone, and your testosterone, typical man's testosterone peaks at around the age of 21. So that's why most of us put on a little bit of weight as we go through our 20s and then our 30s, and it continues to grow as we get older. So you add that to a heck of a lot of takeout and the trifecta every day. It's little wonder I ballooned after my teenage years ended, and I was living an unhealthy lifestyle. So um, when I was engaged in planning a wedding with my wife, it was a very quick planning, a quick engagement. We had a lot of stuff going on in our lives. My wife's mother was sick, unfortunately, so we were trying to balance a lot of things, and I started dropping weight. I have no idea why. We joke about it now that I was on my ham and cheese Turkish diet, because all I seemed to eat at night was ham and cheese on Turkish bread toasted. It wasn't any kind of plan, but I went from maybe around the 105 kilo mark down to 85 kilos over the space of maybe 6 months without doing anything at all. No exercise, didn't change my diet consciously, just shed a lot of weight. I don't know if it was stress or not, but that's the lightest I've been in my adult life, is 85 kilos for my wedding day. And as soon as the wedding ended, because I don't really know what I was doing differently that made me lose the weight. I couldn't tell you what I went back to doing that I wasn't before that made me put the weight back on, but I was piling it on ever since. So anyway, so that's kind of the intro to my channel. I'll be doing a bunch of progress videos and video logs, just to track my progress, to talk about the stuff I'm doing, my thoughts. I've got some. I've already started to make my own plans in terms of what I'm doing after this Thomas's plan finishes after the 3 months. I'm also changing up the plan a little bit, so hopefully it'll be interesting and someone will get some value out of it. Certainly from my end, I'm hoping that this channel and my Instagram channel, which I'll link in the video description. Hopefully a couple of people will look at it and maybe comment, tell me, whether they think it's a good idea or they think I'm a dickhead. Either way, it's fine. But I'm hoping to kind of get some support out of it, I guess. Because I've made a choice to finally nip this in the bud. At some point during this journey, I need to quit smoking as well. So that's going to be an interesting bunch of videos while I grumble around the house and everyone in the house tries to avoid my grumpiness, but we'll see how that goes. So yeah, if you like what you see, please like the video and subscribe, and thanks for watching.